Hi, Pedro. I can't see the live stream. Did you start it? Um, no, I can't see the stage. On- No, yeah, you have to start it. You always have to start it on time. You have to. I don't start it. You start it. I join, please. Okay, thank you. Morning. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Not too bad.
Sound very lyric for this time of day.
Got lots of coffee.
Always helps.
Always helps. We have a few pretty cool demos today, so that should be exciting.
Nice.
We'll get the Koi team up here in a sec. We have some exciting news coming out next week around Prometheus and Koi white labeling, which is kind of what's been going on for a few weeks, but it's exciting to see new entrants coming to the ecosystem that way. Always neat
Very good.
seeing adoption of the tech stack, though, in that kind of context. A lot of people pulling in somewhat unusual applications that I hadn't thought of, actually. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just in a meeting a little while ago and brought up Koi. Somebody was lamenting that they wanted to quit Instagram and a couple other socials, but needed to keep up with the trends for their work as a UI UX developer. I was like, man, that sounds like something a Koi task could do for you.
Yeah, scanning through your socials so that you don't have to log into them would be a super fun one.
Yeah.
Definitely. We got Laura up here.
Welcome.
Got a few more coming up, I think. Please, Saeed,
Good
Soma.
morning.
Hey, Laura. How's Halifax today?
At the moment, a little bit gray, but the weather has been beautiful recently.
Lovely. Summer is better than winter for some.
How bad are winters there? Do you get a buffering effect from the Atlantic, or do you get like full on, you know, I was gonna say feet, but you guys don't do feet. I'm gonna say feet anyway. Well, do you get like meters of snow, or does the ocean buffer it?
Yeah, we
Once every.
don't. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Once every couple of years, we usually get some big snow out there, but depends.
Oh,
I
okay.
find the big problem, the yuckiest part of winter in Halifax isn't so much the snow, it's when it gets really icy. This last winter, we had a lot of ice.
Oh, okay. Do you get like the gray slush effect, where like months of the year it's just sort of like gross looking snow on the side of the road? We get that kind of in Maine.
Yeah, you do get that kind of, especially in the city, you'll get this like snowbanks that are just black. It's pretty disgusting.
Okay. Okay.
Usually it melts shortly thereafter.
Oh, good. Yeah, I haven't been to
Sometimes you get
Halifax since I
skating.
was 14.
You were in Halifax. Wow.
Yeah, I toured all of Nova Scotia when I was 14 with my mother and a neighbor and their kid. Just rented a car and drove around.
Wow. That's serendipitous. All the Nova Scotia
The
connections, always.
took the ferry over, and that was when I first learned that I got a little seasick. I could be out in the ocean in a dory and be just fine, but put me in a big ship with like these deep motors that are kind of like vibrating in the background, and man, I'm not myself for a couple days.
Yeah, the diesel engines will do that.
Yeah,
They'll
absolutely.
hold boats up that way. Um, who wants to go first from the Koi crew here? We've got some pretty cool demos coming today.
First,
Cool. Go for it.
right, so, sorry.
For those that don't know, Laura's the head of our AI team and developing the Prometheus product, and has a whole wealth of experience in building these kinds of things. But yeah, the stage is yours, Laura. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So what I have been working on recently is you have probably already seen the doc summarizer task in the Koii node. I have been working on improvements. So this is, let me just get my screen here. There we go. This is an example of the README that I made for this is actually a repository of mine. It's a project that I built a while ago, a side project. It was just an AI chatbot kind of thing. But the original README that I had, it was just the Nux starter README. I didn't put anything in it. So I put Prometheus on it to see what I would get. And I got all of this rather comprehensive README documenting everything about the project. It's hundreds of lines long. But one of the things that I liked most about it is actually this right here. It actually, from the CSS, it picked up the what the site looks like. And here it says vintage inspired design with sepia toned imagery. And if you look at the actual site, that's pretty much spot on. So I was really impressed by that one in particular.
It got that by reading the code, right? Not by looking at the
Yes, it
website.
got that by reading the CSS.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
You think at the
I think
end
the
of the
big challenge
day,
people
that's
miss about AI is AI isn't going to look at the website. I mean, it might take an image of the website, but really it's going to look at the code base and it can see all these different things that we couldn't see.
Is
That's pretty
that why
awesome.
common LLMs did a lousy job at analyzing their own output when it came to graphics up until now?
I think in part. Laura, do you want to take it?
I'm trying to understand exactly what you mean. Do you mean like the fact that an AI couldn't look at an image and then understand what the image
Yeah.
was?
If
Yeah,
I like was in GPT and I said, "Hey, give me a man with a beard," and it gave me somebody smooth shaven, and I said, "Why did you do that?" And it would respond, "Well, I'm looking now, and it's got a beard." Like it can't really analyze that. Is that because it wasn't looking at like some sort of a code base? It was just trying to do something it wasn't suited for. Well, Prometheus is
um,
actually able to look at the code base.
yeah, in part. So that particular issue has to do with the fact that models originally were multimodal. Sorry, were not multimodal. What companies were doing is they would have a text chatbot and an image generating model, and they didn't really have any connection to each other. So what would happen is the text chatbot would take your prompt and turn it into an input to the image model, and then it would just give you back the image without the text model having really any idea what the image model had done. Now, recently, what ChatGPT has done has actually introduced multimodal models where there's actually one model that understands both image and text and can translate the tokens of the image to the tokens of the text. And that's why you get this much better understanding of what an image is now. But yeah, Prometheus, the big advantage obviously that it has is that it's not dealing with just a screenshot of the website. You've got the entire code base to work from. And so that of course gives it a lot more information and easier to understand information because it is in the end text. So it gives really good results for stuff like documentation.
That's fantastic.
And Laura, this is going to lead to a new Koii task probably sometime soon, right?
Yes, this has been tested. I have done my local testing of it already. I am testing it in the node today. Hopefully, this new version of the summarizer task will be released by the end of day today.
Fantastic. More things for people to run on the node. The other side of this, which I think you've brought up a little bit here, is this idea that when an agent or a person looks at a repo, very different things. We've been spending a lot of time thinking about how agents read open source code, and this might not, for those in the audience that aren't technical, this might not immediately jump out as something really, really useful. But it's the first step towards a much bigger picture of making sure that agents can interact with software and actually like really understand what's going on under the hood. Saeed has also been working on something in this area with the .kno embeddings. Saeed, are you ready to show us something on that side?
Sure. Hey, everyone. Let
Hey
me
there.
just share my screen. So we have KNO SDK. The main purpose of this SDK is to basically uh, have a standardized format for each of the repo to have the embeddings already included in the repo. So if you see, this is one of my test repos. The idea is like each of the repos will have its own .kno folder, and there we would have like a bunch of embeddings, whatever is up to the mark and like performing the best in terms of the repos, and that would basically include all the embeddings. So as for the what is embedding, in like simple layman terms, it's just a way for the AI model to basically look at this embedding and they like know what's going on in the repo, because it cannot like understand the itself the words, so it understands the better it understands the matrices of words much better. So if you see this Keanu as just like a Chroma DB file, that's like a bunch of vectors stored in it. So what it allows us is basically the KNO SDK, there's like simple functions exposed, like for example the clone and index. So once you run it, it's just gonna clone your repo, run the relevant embedding method on it, and then like push the .kno file in the repo itself. So then you will have embedding available on the repo. So for whenever like the next person comes and he wants to like search something in your repo, he doesn't have to like do the whole embedding again. He can just like reuse the embedding that you already have exposed on your repo. The next much more important step is basically you can search using the same embedding, so you don't have to like calculate the embedding again. And third one is a rag based system that we have designed to use this embedding and they like do much more than just like rather than just like searching in your repo. So if I can show this an example. So this is basically the repo. So if I go to the repo, it would first of all just like do the embed like it already has the embedding, so it will skip it, but like ideally it would just first step would be like to create the embedding and then like store it in the repository, and the like next step would be to use a rag based system to answer my prompt, that is just to like summarize this whole repo. So the one more important thing is like the most important aspect of LLM like code generation or anything is basically how well it understands the repository. So that's basically the whole idea behind this. So if you see, uh, there's like a bunch of tools for the repo. Like there's two ways, like you give all the context to the repo and then like ask it to ask further questions about what exactly it wanna know about. Like let's say if you wanna solve a problem that requires a specific file of the code, so it would ideally how it would go is basically it would just like search for the code. It says like okay, that particular code exists in like let's say main.ts or like package.json, and then like it would ask to read that particular file and then like gather it all in the context and eventually basically answer your questions. For example, in this it would basically just say the core technology used, the key modules in this application, the structure, the key features, the highlights, and all the important stuff. Which just like highlights, it is able to understand the repository, what exists, where it exists, and it's able to like frequently access it. So even if we give it like much more complex prompts, like to generate a code or to find vulnerabilities, it would be able to much perform much better rather than like a traditional LLM, because it knows what is where, and it can basically just like freely go and like roam around the repo just like a normal person. So yeah,
Pretty awesome. And so this is like kind of like a README file for bots. Is that a good way of putting it?
exactly. uh even like more verbose than a readme, because it has like much more context that we usually don't like put in a readme, because it
Yes,
can
this
like
is like
use
the
this to traverse through the repo.
like an internal robot scan basically of the repo. So this, as a side effect of using Prometheus in the future, any project that uses Prometheus will end up with this scan of their repo that will actually include all this extra information, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Any questions, Chris?
No, I'm just kind of blown away by that. That's very handy, and
Yeah.
it seems to be at a level that is even beyond like a human reviewer.
Much deeper than a human reviewer can even possibly do it, actually, yeah. Um, I think one of the things I maybe didn't mention is the use of ASTs here, which is sort of a way of pattern mapping within the repo. So not only are we reading the files and reading the actual code, but we're actually looking at the interactions between different pieces of the code and how they fit together.
Um, this is kind of sorry off the wall, but is there a point in the future where this can be kind of mixed with some security elements? So as it's searching through, it can flag maybe undesirable parts of the code.
Yes, that's exactly the idea. Is once this mapping's been completed, then the map includes a lot of those pieces highlighted in that kind of way. But it also allows us to search for similar pieces of the code. So as an agent is combing over the repo, then we can scan through and look for very specific items. Um,
Nice.
and it's actually even possible to do very interesting pattern matching. Though we're only at the beginning of figuring out exactly how that will work, but it's going to give us a lot more firepower to give agents insight into what's going on. And I think the other side of it, Saeed, which you didn't mention, is that there are a whole bunch of different embeddings models, and KNO allows us to switch between them. Do you want to talk about what that could look like, or kind of how this process of embeddings works?
Sure. So it's gonna be like super extensible. So there's like each of the methods basically allows you to specify the embedding method that is supported by the KNO SDK. Right now it's only like few, but it's gonna like definitely extend in the future. And then like we will have like all the open source models available there. So you can just like choose which one works best for your repo, or it can like automatically choose which one would work better. Like let's say for some models that are trained on like a particular language, and then like your project is like on a different language, so it would choose the appropriate model for your language rather than just like blindly using one model for all.
What's a good kind of human context, non-code version of that? I guess it'd be like kind of using the right dictionary for the language that you're trying to speak.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Because like with the ASTs, when we do semantic chunking, like it would first of all there's like the AST needs to know the correct language so that it's able to basically extract the correct class and the functions, because each of the language has its own like syntax tree. So it needs to be like appropriately extracted out first. And then the next step is basically the code matching or like the code searching. So for that, if you have like a relevant model that knows like okay, in Python we call it like we define a function using def instead of like a function keyword or something like that. So it's able to like search much more when you specify like you want to search a function rather than like a random model which doesn't know the exact syntax of a particular language.
Is there a
Awesome.
forensic application to this as well? Like, if you want to see if your code or elements of your code are being used in other projects, it seems like it could rapidly search through a bunch of different packages and do pattern matching.
We can definitely extend it in future to do such a stuff, but right now it's more focused on like finding the things within your own repo that has been indexed. uh, so yeah, it's like AI or LLM basically understanding your repo better so that it can suggest changes, it can suggest like potential vulnerabilities. That's kind of
Oh,
like the
okay.
purpose for the SDK.
So it's almost explainable AI only in chunk form rather than annotation by annotation. Uh,
Exactly.
okay.
Laura, do you have any last thoughts on this topic that might be worth mentioning for the community to know?
I guess I would just say that the really big advantage of integrating a system like this is that one of the major challenges when you're dealing with an LLM is context. If it is trying to read too many files at once, if it's reading too many files that are unrelated to the task that it's doing, it gets off track. And it starts doing random things that you don't want it to do. So the huge advantage of integrating a system like this is it basically allows the LLM to ask itself, based on the task that it's trying to do, what files do I need to read? Where is the relevant information that I want to use? And then the RAG system actually provides back exactly that piece of the repository that it needs. And it doesn't need to go searching through all kinds of different files and ending up with a whole bunch of stuff in context that it doesn't want. So that dramatically improves the accuracy of any code that's generated or documentation that's written compared to what we were doing previously.
I think also what that means for people running the node is that the Claude key that you connect to the task will actually spend less money on Claude for the same output that it creates on GitHub, right?
Yes, that's true. Managing context obviously does mean using fewer tokens, which means paying less money. And in addition to that, not only are you paying less to produce the same amount, you're actually paying less to produce better work. So it's a win on both sides.
I would say three sides because it also seems to have a better environmental impact, if I'm understanding it right.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, doing all the embeddings at the edge actually saves a lot of electricity use that would have to happen at a data center, and then you're saving a lot of the data that you're sending back and forth as well. So if this gets implemented at a massive scale, it really could actually make quite a big impact environmentally speaking.
That's
Not only
fantastic.
that, but you also you don't have to pay for a human software developer who has to buy groceries and fly around the world on vacation and all that kind of thing, which that might
Yeah.
make a difference as well.
Well, I'm expecting, like, I'm seeing the EU making big pushes on supply chain audits, and we're really close to a future where people are required to have AI audits, I suspect, with some of the resource use metrics that I always see floating around. So anything you can do to get ahead of that game is going to be really beneficial. So this is great.
Definitely, definitely. I think the other side of this as well is the world has really adopted vibe coding. So in the last few months, I think we went from and for those that don't know, vibe coding is where you get the AI agents to write the code for you. And so vibe coding really was only invented in February. I think that was the first mention of this on Twitter, and that was the first time somebody had coined the term. And then probably in the last 2 months, it seems like pretty much every software developer in the world has tried vibe coding at least once, and the vast majority of these people have liked it. So we're expecting to live in a world where there is a significant amount of vibe coding, or at least AI-assisted code generation. But that world really needs some significant audits for it to be safe and secure.
I'll admit the whole concept kind of intimidates the hell out of me as a non-coder. I've had people ask, "Hey, why can't you just learn how to vibe code and do this, app for us?" And I can't imagine I'd produce great results. Um, do you disagree with that assessment?
I'd say at this stage, you could probably muddle through it. My girlfriend Tara has tried vibe coding recently, and I think she had a pretty. I think a lot of people are now picking this up who wouldn't have otherwise tried to write code. But the tooling around it and the security aspects, I think, are the thing that holds people back.
I see. Okay.
Speaking of tooling, we have some pretty cool demos from Soma and Pablo about the node as well. Do either of you guys want to jump up and show off the great stuff you've been working on?
I can go first. Hey guys, it's me again. My name is Soma, the task developer from Koii. I do not need to share my screen. I do not have a very big demo, but I do have a really big news. It's we are gonna open source the desktop node and the text node. So, which means after we open source it, user can free to open an issue on desktop node, leave any feature you'd like to see, or just fork the desktop node and create your own own one, maybe. It's based on your choice. It's open source. So yeah, we are working hard on it. So please, looking forward to it. And yeah, pass the mic to Pablo.
Hey, Pablo.
Hey, folks. Cool. So I'm gonna quickly summarize the new updates that we have in the node for this new version that it's hopefully coming out today. Let me share my screen. Sorry, one sec. Okay, I hope you can see the node now. Cool. So the very first thing I want to mention is that we updated the eligibility criteria for this VIP scheme, which most of you were very excited last time. Now this will be automatic and will depend on the balance of VIP tokens held by the user or by the currently selected account. So let me show you here. The VIP is already applied because we have the minimum balance. But if I switch to other account, which doesn't have it, and please don't pay attention to the names of my accounts, you can see it's automatically disabled. So let's switch back for a moment. It was final. No. Oh, shoot. Okay, sorry. Yeah, final. Cool. So yeah, and this will be automatic, but it'll take a few seconds.
Actually, we are
Let
not
me-
seeing the desktop node. We are just seeing the Discord interface.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
seeing-
Okay, one sec.
Discord screen sharing is always fun. So I can speak
Not
to this
gonna get
while you're getting that up. One of the things that we've been asked repeatedly by community members and people who've been building Koi tasks is if they could have their own node to run the tasks in. Because there's a lot of communities out there that have a really strong community and they want their own branded experience that shows, to their community that it's a trustworthy app. And so what this means is behind the scenes, all of the tasks will still be running on the Koi network. But most of these projects that we're working with have pretty huge communities, and they'll probably have their own version of the node, which is pretty amazing. And so from the work that we've been doing with the VIP skins, it looks like we're going to have an opportunity to launch Koi nodes as a service for all kinds of other brands. But yeah, please go ahead, Pablo.
I'm sorry, before you move on, what does that look like in practice? I mean, I understand the words you're saying, but what is that going to mean for somebody that has their own node? I guess, is it just a white labeled version with all the
Yeah.
features?
White labeled, rebranded, and focused on one specific token community and the tasks that they are offering. And so a few of our partners have approached us recently to try to set up their own version of the Koi node. Which is pretty exciting, actually, because it means that we're seeing standardization across the industry towards the Koi task
Yeah.
framework.
Definitely.
And then on top of that, actually, a couple of other existing DPINs that we've been talking to are looking at using the Koi task container format. And so even though they're not running on K2, they'll still be using the same container format for Docker instances and stuff. And so hopefully what that means is we'll see a lot more cross-compatibility outside the ecosystem, which is something that naturally happens as an open source ecosystem like this grows. But we've since mainnet been working pretty hard to try to bring in those partnerships, and this is a big tech step to get towards that as a viable option for people.
So does this mean you continue your development updates on the primary Koi node and then just roll them out to any white gloved user?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And so
okay.
there'll be a number of our partners will be maintaining their own versions of the node and actually probably helping us actually develop the open source standards.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we'll be seeing some of those announcements coming out over the next few weeks as well. It's a really
Well,
great way.
congratulations.
It's going to be a really great way to onboard like tens of thousands of node operators at the same time. And what it means for those businesses that join is that they get a little bit more fine-tuned control because they'll be able to fork the node and add their own components and that kind of thing. But Pablo is in the middle of a demo, so we should let Pablo get
Yeah,
his demo.
sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I understand like open sourcing and white labeling are like some really big steps, and we are all excited about that. So Cool. So I was intending to show, not actually showing, that I have in this account the enough balance to have the available skin. If I change to some other account, it gets disabled, and I don't even have the switch available here for the theme, which only the ones of you who already have the skin before know. But yeah, if you meet the criteria, you'll see it in the future. 1 sec. So let's switch back to the account that has the balance. So if I now switch, I want to see some account where I have Koii so I can send back the tokens later. Cool. If I send the VIP to some other account, I could use the background music of the of Discord that was here before while we wait. But yeah, as soon as I transfer the tokens, it should recognize that I don't meet the criteria and disable the skin. This will take max a minute, but usually it takes within 10 and 15 seconds. So once that happens, really slow for the demo, sorry. Oh, it looks like it's gonna take the full minute. Only for the demo. Okay, now we go. Yeah, for real. The struggle is real. So I transferred it to this to this other account, and hopefully it won't do the same thing again. Probably just it'll be much quicker this time. But yeah, regardless, it'll be automatic, and it doesn't fail. Like we've tested it many times, and it works well. So it's just a matter of time, as I said, max 1 minute. So apart from that, we've also worked on a lot of UI and UX improvements to the app. One big fix is that we fetch most of the tasks directly from K2, but then there are some other tasks that we fetch from a caching server to reduce the load. And we noticed that if the server has some issue, it would also impact the tasks we fetch from K2. So now we completely detached these two operations, which makes the overall tasks fetching much more reliable and less error prone. Then we also fixed some issues on the notification tray. We found some versions of Windows or Linux wouldn't support the transparent blurred background we gave to this tray, so we fixed that to fall back to a different background when that's the case. We also slightly refined the onboarding flow, made several small UX improvements so it's easier to follow, basically. And we also updated the version label to be always visible. This is to help with debugging mostly when reporting bugs. And then some other minor issues, like, for example, when you upgrade a task, you can now only use the stake available in the old version of the task. Why this is taking so long? Let me see. Okay, not sure what's going on. Let me check. But yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Sorry for that. And then we are also working, as Soma and Al mentioned, on open sourcing and white labeling. These are really big steps. But yeah, I can give more details, especially about white labeling. We're very excited about that option.
Yeah, sorry, I've been jamming away, replying to a bunch of the messages in chat. One of the things I think is worth mentioning is this is also, once the node is available in open source for white labeling, this is an enterprise tool that can be used as an intranet product as well. And so we've met a bunch of people that, they have a private GitHub repo or they have internal code documents that they'd like to work on. And they don't want to expose those externally, but they want to use a nice, easy container for their team. And so we're seeing a number of like pretty big consulting firms that are really interested in using this as an implementation tool. And so this step towards standardizing and making it easy to change the theme is actually a really big step towards that as well. And yeah, I saw Marengo asked if he can use Prometheus at home to help with his automation of his CCTV, smart door, that kind of thing. That's definitely possible. One of the best things for vibe coding is those kinds of weekend projects where you have a lot of things to integrate. So we're hoping to provide this as a tool that you can run locally as well in the near future.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. Just a very quick note. I just noticed like the skin wasn't applied because I already had the skin before in this account that I selected, and I had manually disabled it. So it'll remember that state for each account, which I forgot to check for this. But yeah, it's working. It's working great. Sorry for that.
Looks great. Thanks for the demo. I
For sure.
haven't seen too many more questions. I've been trying to answer all the questions from the community here. Does anybody from the community want to hop on stage and ask a question out loud? Nope. Cool. Are there any questions in the chat that we have missed? Scrolling back up. Crypto Nights is coming out in 2 weeks on Amazon Prime, it sounds like. So it's going to be hopefully a big boost to marketing for the ecosystem. We're planning to time DEX listings on Solana and Aerodrome around the same time. Aerodrome is a big DEX on the base ecosystem. So it should be a great opportunity for trading coming in from that side. And we also have been working with a couple of firms to try to onboard some trading bots to the ecosystem. So we're hoping to see a few different pieces come together so that you guys will be able to use the nodes to actually trade Koii on DEXs, which will be coming pretty soon. A lot of folks have asked about the DEX on Koii. I think at this point we are more focused on getting the Koii token trading on other DEXs, but we still want to get a DEX on Koii, and we're approaching a few different Solana DEXs to try to get them to port their code bases over. There was a big Solana event in San Francisco this week. If you missed the news, there's Solana events around the world. All happened on Wednesday, and there were something like I think 300 events around the world. We were at one of them, and we managed to meet a bunch of people who run DEXs and do a whole bunch of like kind of the trading side of the ecosystem, especially a lot of trading bots as well. And we got really good feedback that a lot of them want to come and use the Koii node, and might even see a couple white labels from that direction.
Nice. I wanted to ask, you mentioned earlier that Prometheus was going to be, you're going to be able to run it locally. What sort of level of technical expertise would that take in the early days?
Hopefully not much, but we'll see. You might be better off trying Cursor in the short term, but there will definitely be some options to run Prometheus locally as well, and
Nice.
we'll try to make it easy enough that anybody can use it.
Awesome.
Yeah, the whole idea here is just to open up these kinds of tools for people. And our attitude on this is vibe coding is a lot safer when there's more vibe coding devices. So in this case, decentralization really leads to security because the nodes are actually checking each other's work. So there should be some pretty cool options coming out. I see Marengo asked about streaming the Crypto Nights episode. We might not, I don't know that we can do that just because it's going to be on Amazon Prime, and I'm not sure how the rights for that kind of thing work, and we don't want to get sued by Jeff Bezos. But we can definitely do some kind of a launch event, and I think Crypto Nights will be doing one as well. So we'll maybe try to live stream that or plug you guys into it when it comes out. The other side of it, Marengo also asked about the web Finny wallet or desktop app. We have a mobile app that somebody in the community has been developing. I think that they are just about done, so we're hopefully seeing that soon. The other thing that's going to happen, though, as Koii is wrapped onto a bunch of other chains, you're going to start seeing you're going to start being able to use the Koii token as a wrapped token in most of the other primary wallets that are available on web. So for basic payments and things like that, you'll be able to do that as well. So that should streamline things a bit. And Vuk says, when comes DEX? So cold wallet support already works if you're using like a Trezor or something like that. You can just use a Solana key. We have some documentation on how to do that. But typically, we recommend that just using the Finny wallet is probably good enough for now. And then Vuk, the DEX on Koii is coming very soon, but we've got a few more things to finish before then. I think folks will wrap up here because the team's got a lot of work to do, so we're going to get back to it. But thank you for attending, and if you have more questions, drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get back to you async. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, this was an exciting week. Thanks very much for all the demos and presentations.
Pleasure. More updates next week, and we'll get back to you guys on the DEX side. I know everybody's dying to start trading all their KPL tokens, so we'll get that moving soon.
Great. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye for now.